Okay, y'all, buckle up because today's guest is straight fire. I'm talking about a woman who doesn't just sell houses, she redefines it, what it means to show up in the industry. She's the heartbeat of Dandridge Realty Group, the queen of Eastern hospitality with a CEO mindset. And when Liz McDonald walks into the room, whew, you feel it. Energy, impeccable. Integrity, unshakable. Hustle, untouchable. But here's the kicker. She's not just about closings and contracts. Liz is the kind of leader who lifts others while she is climbing. The kind of mama bear who will fight for her people and still show up with lashes on point and a heart full of purpose. She's turned her corner of real estate into a community, a movement, a mission. So if you're ready to hear from a woman who's built her brand on grit, grace, and a whole lot of guts, grab your coffee, clutch your pearls, and get ready to take notes because Liz McDonald is in the house and baby, she can make it spicy. So let's dig in. Hey, Liz. Glad to have
Hey there.
you. I'm so excited. Was before we hit record, I was getting so giddy. I'm like, we can't start talking. We just can't start talking. We have to record because everything is going to be gold. I know it. So, for the listeners, let's start off with who is Liz and give us a little bit of your background.
I started rolling in my professional life in the hedge fund industry. So I worked in marketing and mutual funds and hedge funds and did a little dabbling in real estate, and at some point decided that that was the direction I really wanted to go. And so in 2010 I started a property management business that I grew from 4 units under management to 350 before I sold it to my then partner. And I rolled my sales team into a new brand in 2018, Dandridge Realty, and we doubled every year for almost 5 years and grew
Wow.
that very quickly here in the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, Maryland, and Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C.
I love that. So many questions. So you got rid of the property management to your partner. Was that when you looked at like peeling off that arm? A lot of times people look at property management as that residual cash flow and like it helps pay the bills. What were like all the feels when you released that?
Great question, Katie. So I started property management. I started in property management entirely because of the residual income.
Oh,
That, first month plus 10%, the 10%, pays the rent every month, that kind of thing. And we started in 2010, which you might recall followed quickly after the 2008 market meltdown. So at the time when we were starting our company, people would just thank us for answering the phone. Like literally, it'd be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for answering the phone. It was
oh
a
wow.
really, really low bar.
Low bar to entry. Okay.
So we grew pretty quickly, right? Um,
Yeah. You're
in
answering the phone.
2013, I started selling properties because we were licensed. We had to be licensed to do property management for other people.
Yeah.
And so I got my license and I started helping some of our investors buy some additional properties. And I realized that in property management, you have owners who feel like you're doing too much for a tenant or it's costing too much, and tenants who feel like you won't ever do anything and you're on the landlord's team. And so no one's ever really happy, was my experience in property
Yeah.
management.
100%, 100%. And then you can't become a friend because then they want to take advantage and want everything for free.
Well, yeah, and I didn't have that experience so much as I just had like everybody was just kind of mad. So what I loved about sales and in 2013, you get bigger chunk money, and I like chunk money.
Like chunk
Um,
money. Bigger
yeah,
checks
chunk
are
money.
better.
Yeah, chunks are nice. And then also people are happy. So
Yeah.
you buy a house, you're happy. Even if you sell a house and you lose a little money, you're so grateful to be out of it. There's been an experience. People want to be, done with it, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so I found that there's just a lot more happiness. So my staff who has been with me in property management and in sales have told me very clearly, please, 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 please don't ever get into property management again because it's just a different feel. It's a different thing. Now, when I sold, now back to your question, when I sold the property management company to my then partner, I was really scared. And I sold it, so I had a little bit of money to be able to buy signs, new signs, new branding. The first thing I did, and I think actually it's probably the smartest thing I've ever done in business. Well, second smartest thing I've ever done in business was I hired a marketing team.
Ooh.
and
Okay.
well, branding team, right? And we did a market survey, figured out branding, and I got my brand on point from the start. So it wasn't like a 5-year-old drew a logo and called it a brand. You know what I mean? It's
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. So do our listeners. They're like, yeah, that was my husband that drew my logo. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
but what it created was I'm not a small town brand
yeah.
looking brand. I'm a small town. I'm a boutique real estate company. We're not affiliated with a franchise in any way. We're outside of the Washington D.C. and these three states, Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, but we feel like a put together brand. And that's because I spent
Mm.
way more money than I thought was appropriate at the time to have people who are experts in that help guide me because it's certainly not my forte.
Yeah.
And so having the brand package from the jump made a huge difference in the impact we could make in the market immediately.
Yeah, and that's great. Now, did you go a couple questions on that? One, I like to talk numbers and structures and get to the details. You have to give us what the company, but when you sold it, especially as we're talking about, Main Street Millionaire, right, as a big theme right now, and people selling businesses and buying businesses, and we definitely know people doing both of those. So when you sold it, how did you structure? Was it a payout? Was it a seller finance? How did you step into that? Because you said you got some cash to launch, so you had a little bit of leap money in the sense.
So my business partner and I were in a business community at the time with some people we really respected who were able to help us through the process of separation that did not cause us to hate each other, which
That's wonderful.
I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
And we still are, right? So we still have mutual friends and mutual advisors. I think we still share the CPA same CPA as far as I know. But what that allowed us to do was set each other up for success. So I gave a little. He paid me less than market
Yeah.
for my half of the company. I got a chunk of money up front. I think he probably had a little personal loan or something like that that he was able to pay me out at.
Hmm.
And we both set each other up for success. And we actually had for 5 years, we had a referral agreement and a non-compete. So he wasn't doing any sales and I wasn't doing any property management, and we were referring business back and forth. We're doing less of that now. It caused us to really be able to build our own business in our own silo I think it was without all the negative energy that I think a lot of people have over former partners.
Yeah.
It's not a partnership gone bad. It's just a partnership separated, which was
Yeah.
a nice direction to go with that.
You wanted to pivot to have a better, really a healthier lifestyle in your work, right? I mean, that's what I'm hearing is it wasn't bringing you joy. It was, and if you're looking at the closing documents as you do property management, you see those commission checks, like you said, and you're helping them. So when you made that leap, did you go into a national franchise first, or did you go straight to owning your own brokerage?
No, strangely, Katie, I've never had an outside broker.
Mhm.
I've never worked in a real estate company that wasn't my own. So in 2010, it probably tells you a little something about me. Uh,
She likes to do it herself. No, pave
I
your
do.
way. Well, then you knew what you
When
wanted to
we started this,
create.
what's up?
You knew what you wanted to create, right? You're like, I pretty much know what I don't want and know what I want in a company and a culture. I mean, I respect that because you have that laser vision, even like today when you talk about your business, like, nope, not doing that. It's like, oh, okay, you want to consider? Nope, nope. Like we know who we are. And I so respect that because a lot of times, the question of asking that was it hard, right? Sometimes it's hard to leave the W-2. Sometimes it's hard to leave that like constant flow of cash for like, this is sporadic or what if or what of that. But you really leaned into creating the systems and the culture like right off the bat.
Yeah, and I think that I never wanted to be at someone else's whim,
Mm,
business wise. And I think in real estate, the office culture is so important. If you're going to be hanging out with people, you don't want to be a successful person hanging out with losers because that like and I don't mean losers like a judgment, but like people who aren't succeeding and working hard at things and pushing themselves forward. You don't want to be hanging out with those people in business. And so I really felt strongly that I wanted to create a culture that had a culture of success. And so that's what I've been able to do. But it meant for me hiring a broker to start with, who is the broker for my company as a property management company. And then when I became a broker, I haven't considered another franchise, a national franchise.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'd stepped into the Keller Williams model, and it's a interesting part where, usually they have sponsors that come in. My sponsor was one of my ex-boyfriends, actually, from junior high. And so we're still good friends today. And I find it interesting, of like the connections that you have and the course and the curriculum and the education on it. So I thought that was good. And then I eventually started my own brokerage really when my husband kicked me in the butt. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, go, like, you're doing everything you would do in an independent brokerage anyway, and you're getting frustrated with just the system, right? I mean, there's no bad blood on that, but the system. And so in breaking out, it was really great. In hindsight, I wasn't ready when I got my license to do that, but I appreciate that you jumped straight to it because you're like, I know exactly what I want to create. And you're now at how many agents?
We're about 20 agents right now, growing quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like every week I get from Liz, like, yes, we got another amazing agent that comes over. And
Mhm.
you do some great things in the community. So talk about that culture that you created in developing your business. Then let's get into your investing and your development journey.
Okay, well, one of the things I'm blessed with is I'm in a very small community outside of Washington, D.C., right? So we're an outer ring suburb. And I don't think there's anybody who's self-taught, right? So when I say I never had a broker, well, I had a broker, I just paid her. And she would come in and like go through files with me and just help me because she just wanted to, because she liked me. I would make mistakes on contracts, and agents on the other side would say, "Hey, Liz, by the way, this is how we do it here. These are the things we do." And so people helped us along the way. And so I think that's really important in most businesses, maybe in any business, to be able to help the person kind of coming up, whether they're in my team directly impacting my success, or if they're just around. Frankly, the industry needs all the help we can get. So if I can help foster some people, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think of a pause. I want to give a shout out to Suzanne Miller. When most of you know that are listening know I focus on commercial every now and then, and every time I do it, I'm like, what am I doing? I go to the dark side and I do some residential, and I do it for family and friends a lot of time, which is again the worst place to get out of your comfort zone, right? And I'll never forget, it was a family friend's niece, and we were getting her a condo, and Suzanne was so great with me, and it was literally, I think it was my first residential deal that I did that wasn't one of my own properties. And I forgot to put like the appliances in there. And so she sent it back and she's like, "Do you want these things?" I'm like, "Yeah, like, yeah, of course I do. Why wouldn't I?" And she's like, "Well, you got to list them here." I'm like, "Oh." Again, this is very early on, but I'll never forget that because she could have taken advantage of it, right? But Suzanne is amazing at fostering and helping, like you said. And I think when you find somebody that has that integrity and really holds the realtor brand sacred and believes in the craft, those are the people that I like to lean into. And we do a lot of referrals with, right? Because I know they're going to take care of our people. So
Yeah.
sorry, I had to give her a shout out because that was my girl. That was my helper.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to learn that way.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
all learned the other way. It's nice to learn that way too, when people
Yeah.
are kind about it.
Yeah, definitely. So then when you've started to spin off not property management as a brokerage, but you've started to spin off a couple other services as you've grown your business. So walk us through a little bit more of your journey from going through launching, bringing on agents. I love that you had, in essence, a coach, a mentor, because a lot of times people jump into that deep end, right? And they don't have somebody guiding them and really helping them. And we don't learn that way. We've never been taught to learn. We always have teachers in school. I always say you don't ride a bike by yourself. Somebody holds the frame, right, and gets you going. And so who and how were you stepping into those next phases of expansion?
That's interesting. One of the things I love what you said. There's always somebody holding the frame.
Hmm.
Because I hadn't thought of riding a bike quite that way. It applies in so many different ways to have somebody holding the frame. So I'm totally
Yeah.
using that. Um,
Swipe it.
So great. I actually have had a business coach almost from the day we started my property management company. And actually, I mean, I've had some business coaches before that, but business coach, I mean, coaching has always been important to me.
Mhm.
I played sports. I was a coach to young women in my early 20s. For the majority of my business, I've had coaching. And the times when I have not had a coach, I have noticed a difference, not necessarily in real time, but sort of looking back on it, like, woo, I really got off the rails there. Someone keeping me on the rails.
The 1% off, right? I mean, I
Uh-huh.
would say it's like try and get 1% better every day. Don't get 1% off because then at the end of the year, it's noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a bigger
Yeah.
change.
That's so
So your question though is a good one. So I've started a couple of businesses. I inherited a vacation rental business because when I sold the property management side of the business, he really didn't want vacation rentals because he didn't have the systems for it. That was smart on his part. I didn't want to fire the clients, so I ended up with property management for a couple of vacation rentals. Mostly I did that as an experiment to run my own vacation rentals, which I now do as well. Still have those two clients that I got at the time. So I have a little vacation rental side of the business, which I think is interesting and useful in what I do in normal life. I have a company called Response Home Buyers, and we buy properties. So sometimes there's a circumstance where someone does not want to go on the market for whatever reason. They want their money, they want to go, they're willing to give you a discount because they just want to get out of town, or they
Mhm.
don't want to show their house. They don't want pictures in the public eye, whatever the thing is. Usually it's embarrassment, sometimes it's other things. So we buy properties as is. So we get a little discount. We have investors who are able to come in and either buy them from us or partner with us to renovate them and get them back on the market and get them, retail so that regular people can buy them. We do a lot of that as well.
Okay.
And then we have sort of some other ancillary businesses that we run. We have a title company and we have some other ancillaries as well. In addition to the building, which I now have very well occupied. And we'll talk about that, I have no doubt, in a few minutes.
Yay, I love that. What caused you to create, in essence, like when you're talking about the responsible buyers, immediately I think of wholesale. But when you're explaining that, I like how you position it because it sounds like you were starting to solve a need in your real estate brokerage of, these people want to list, but it's how do you get them off dead center if we can't list it, we can't show it, we can't do anything. Is that how it came about, or was it the catalyst something different?
Well, I have some friends who have been very successful in either in wholesaling, right, in wholesale world as licensed professionals. Here's my concern about the wholesaling world is I feel like a lot of people end up at a weekend seminar where they
Uh,
learn wholesaling and they learn some of the terminology and they go out and position themselves as experts in these things. In West Virginia particularly, but Maryland and Virginia as well, they're cracking down on wholesaling in general. I understand that's been national. And at some point, these are all going to have to happen under a brokerage because there's too much room for people to act like they're working in someone's best interest, in the public's best interest, and they're not. And there's nobody there to make sure that they are, right? There's no one watching
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a concern in the industry. When I go to a listing appointment and I say, well, if you just paint these walls and you clean really well, we can get $300,000. Right? Great. A wholesaler comes in and says, I'll give you 225 today. And for whatever reason, this person's in a circumstance where they really need that 225 and
Mhm.
or they're ready to just sell it at 225, the 300 after retail, having people see it, whatever the thing is. They don't want that. That $75,000 spread is, the profit that having cash and being able to move quickly and all those things brings. But the problem
Yeah.
is if the person who is offering them 225 either can't perform, which often happens, I can give you
Okay.
225, but I won't
Yeah.
after 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 weeks. If they can't perform, that's a problem. Or if there's not clarity around what's going on. So what I'm able to do now, Katie, is I can go to a listing and I can say, hey, listen, if you want to paint these walls and do a really deep clean, we can get you $300,000, and this is the timeline I expect that to take. However, if you want cash now, this is how much this is, and these are the implications of both of those for you, so you can just see it and
Yeah.
decide what's best for you.
Oh, that's so great because you're changing the game in essence with that. And so I really, now going back, I really like the fact that you didn't drop the word wholesale because it was so great for you to go in and explain that you're not really giving a wholesale, you're giving that a responsible buyer. You're saying, hey, I'm not saying I hope, I wish I can, control this property, make all the
What's that
calls.
contract? Right.
And now you're saying like, no, here's the timeline. If you're ready to go, here's the contract. Let's go. Boom, boom, boom. And that's great because you've built the network of investors to be able to have that buying power and that control. And I have to imagine that that's a trusted brand and an opportunity in your market for you because you're doing what you say you're going to do. And those are happy sellers all day long.
Absolutely. I mean, 5-star Google reviews right and left. It's hilarious. Like they're like, they're just so happy that you're making, they know I'm making a profit. I make it
Yeah.
really clear. There's a profit to be made. This is what I'm doing. Or you can make the profit and this is what you need to do to make the profit. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's very clear. And I have a reputation to uphold as well, which
Mm.
and people know that about me, right? So I'm not some fly by night. So people can really trust these are the options. I don't have a dog in the fight. You can do any of those options and they're all great for me, right?
Yeah.
Which do you want? And so that's been really fun. So we rolled that out about a year and a half ago, and we've had a really good time sort of being able to help those clients. And frankly, most people don't want 225 instead of 300, right? Like most people want 300. Great, we'll list it and we're going to do a great marketing thing. Let me talk to you about how we're going to market this property, right? And we
Yeah.
can we can go down that road. It's actually been great for the brokerage side as well of the business.
Nice.
Um,
Well, I mean, you let them know. I think a lot of times when people give you that like one option, it's like, what am I missing? Right? Like that's I just got off a call with somebody who wants to do a ground up development and she was like, well, should I put this on there and put that on there? I'm like, there's so many things to consider. Here are like all your options based off the data we have at this point in time. And that's really what you're doing. This is all the options that I can give you that I can give you, right? That you can offer and what it looks like. And so you can say, hey, if you don't want to do anything, you want to hit the easy button, you're not going to make as much money, but you're not going to have to clean the house. You're not going to have to show it. You're not going to have to figure out where your dogs go, right? Like all those things. Or our team's going to go to the map for you and we're going to get you that top dollar and it's probably in this range. I mean, I just appreciate that honesty and openness and what you can do for them. So,
What's cool about it is that it also works on the other side, right? So I can sell properties to an investor and they can do the whole renovation and manage that and get the full profit when they sell it. I can also partner with investors to do the same thing and we can manage that renovation, right? So
yeah.
you can do the same kind of thing, right? If I'm happy in any of those options you choose, it allows me to not try to sell anyone on these things, right? I'm just
Yeah.
here to provide the opportunity and the information, and then they get to choose what they want.
Yeah, and I know my investor partner Mike that he's listening. He's like, "That's optionality, Katie. I like optionality. That's what I want." And he confirmed it's a real word now because I was like, "Is that a word?" And he's like, "It is. It's a real word, optionality." So, and that's what I think we all want in life, right? And so you kind of figure out how do I create a network and a resource and a service in one, and then you have one to many, right? What are the other many options that I can spin this with still that main focus? And so invest in some of these properties, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and
Yes.
yes, I believe in my craft. Yes, Katie. And so go into that, and then you kind of came over to the dark side. You started doing some development, and for the listeners, the spoiler alert. If you watched Erica's episode, she gave you the breakfast story. This is the famous Liz from the breakfast story. So, want to talk about the development? You can give your own version of the breakfast story, so we have it on record. But was that office building your first development?
So the way you define development, no, I've done some flipping.
Yes.
In fact, I developed a risk aversion
Oh.
in 2006 and 2007 when I got stuck with some of my flips. So I know the flips gone bad. I do renovate properties now for resale, for retail sale. So I've done some of that, and
Yeah.
not a ton. I don't do like, hundreds a year or anything like that. So from 2010 to 2019, we had an old hardware store in
Oh.
downtown Charlestown, and it was 3 doors down from my office, something like that. And we would go in and make keys because the key place, which was 2 doors down, actually was never open. So we'd go down to the old hardware store, and Mr. Bush would make us our keys. And once a month, he would bill us for all the keys we made. We were in property management. We had a lot of keys.
Yeah.
And yeah, so but we'd go in there, and it used to be when people have all these stories of going in with a screw and being like, I need this screw that's the right whatever, and the bolts and the whatever, and he'd take it and he'd look at it, and then he'd like go in the back, he'd
I
disappear.
got that. It's in this aisle. Hold on, let me come back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's
He'd
nail
go,
ons from
he'd
when
go
I
in the
grew up.
back and he'd
Yep.
he'd run up into the warehouse because it's a three-story, very narrow building, and he would find that very screw, and he would see that it was marked from like 1955. It had been priced at like 29 cents or 4 cents or whatever, and he'd come back and he'd charge you whatever it had been marked in 1955. He'd charge you that amount, and then off you'd go.
Oh, wow.
Well, so you could imagine that at some point by 2015, 2016, he wasn't very profitable.
Yeah.
So in he decided it was time to retire, and in 2019 he offered the property to me, and so I bought it from him. This old hardware store with and it had a toy train around going around and around in the front of the office or the front of the store,
Get out. Did
the
you keep the
window,
train?
and so all the little kids would stop.
Okay.
And
I gotta know, did you keep the train?
I don't have the train. He sold the train.
Okay.
But wait till Christmas this year. I'm sending you a picture.
Okay. Good, good, good.
So anyway, then we started to figure out what on earth are we going to do with this 7,500 square foot, three-story brick building. I actually, it's kind of divided in half. The back was the warehouse, and there were two apartments on the second and third floor, one apartment on each, the second and the third floor. The third floor one had been leaking long enough. It wasn't an apartment anymore. It was just kind of space. The second
Internal
floor
water
is
feature.
yeah, it had a lot of interior water features. The second floor had a tenant with a couple of dogs who were being let out on the small roof to do
Oh,
their business.
oh Lord.
And the day I bought it, I was like, oh, now it's a good idea to bring my contractor into the building. So up we went to the third floor.
So wait, the day you bought it, you brought your contractor into the bill. Okay, I just want to make
Like
sure
the
I heard
next
that.
hour, we were like, let's go to the building. So up we go to the third floor, and we're standing there, and the building's swaying.
Oh,
Yeah.
cuddling with you.
It had been built on 2 foot wide joists throughout the building. So when you're on the third floor,
Oh,
start to sway a little bit.
okay.
Yeah. So,
That's special.
uh-huh. So I didn't do I really wanted a really cool downtown Charlestown, West Virginia historic building.
Yes.
And that's what I got, built in the late 1800s.
Ooh.
Um, And it was built actually when we pulled some of the walls out, we found the old gas piping for the lights.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was cool. So
Man.
that's what we started doing in 2019.
So how did you step into the purchase with him on that? Did you just buy it outright? Was it a or did you like seller finance with him or
No, he needed the money, so I bought it outright from him.
okay.
He wanted to do the right thing and not sell it to a local slumlord, so he did that.
Yeah.
He had 3 months to clear out 7,500 square feet worth of storage and things like that.
Quick
So
time
as a
frame.
result, what's that?
That's a quick time frame.
Yeah. He sold everything. So the train in the front, the sign off the front of the building, like all those sorts of things that I sort of would have expected kind of stuck around. I didn't have a contract for that was clear. And so I got what I got when he moved out. It was broom clean. Got to give him credit. It was broom clean.
Firm claim. Got it. Got it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I usually when we go through those older buildings, a lot of times my owners want to be like, "Can I want that. I want this. I want this. I want this." I'm like, "Okay, like let's get the building controlled first and then we can ask for all the fun cool things that like your wife's going to kill me that they're in your garage now." So, and but let's just say but. So then did you have a plan going in when you bought it or you're like, "No, I want this building. I'm going to buy it and then figure out what to do."
That, mostly that. So I didn't know Katie Kim at the time. And so I bought it as with the idea that I would have first floor space for my office.
Mm,
Maybe I'd do something retail in the front. I didn't really know about that. And I'd have two apartments. And
yeah.
so about a year and a half or 2 years into the process, it became clear my company was growing so quickly. I really needed the space. And so we decreased that to one apartment, which I now use as a vacation rental. And then the rest of it is office space.
Awesome. And you rent out to other businesses too, right? Small
I do.
businesses that are looking to, yeah. And I think the space that you created, and if you don't mind, I'll show the video. We'll have a little video walkthrough of your space at the end of this podcast for people watching on YouTube. And I love how you looked at going into that business, the building and the business, and looking at the space of what do I need? Did you look at it first from like cash flow standpoint, or were you growing so fast it was like, I just need to get this done and get in there. Like where were you at that point?
I was growing quickly, and so and our space was we had been in the same office space as a business since well before the property management company got sold. So we got some more space when the property management company moved out, but it kind of kept getting tighter and tighter. We literally got to the point where we would ask our agents not to come to the office, please. It's like the opposite of everybody else. Now I'm like, please come in, let's do stuff together. But we are like, please stay away. We don't want to talk to you. We don't want to look at you. We don't want you here. Not very good culture. And so as we were putting together the plan, I hired first a designer and then an architect, which I think is probably backwards, but I didn't really know the difference at the time.
I kind of like to go that way
Okay.
personally. I think it's better. And it's interesting because from our conversation on your family home, I reconnected with one of my architects that I work with all the time. She just had a baby, and I was like, "You got to come on the podcast," because I feel like I'm always naying architects. But historically, my experience is that they'll come in and they'll design what they want. They don't necessarily listen to what you want, and then they'll design for their fee, right? And usually based off construction costs. So even if you give them a budget, they're way up because it's kind of ego. Not all, they're not all the same. I'm saying that out here, like not all architects are created equal. But when you start with a designer, you start with the intention of flow in the space from operation. And then usually you operate. And then I go back to like, what is the like revenue generated per square foot on the floor plan? Like, is this generating revenue or is this like preserving revenue? And then that goes into the pro forma. And then once we have that done, then we go get the architect and say, here's what we want you to do. So I don't think you're backwards. I think that that's the way I like to step into it because I like to hear what people want to create in those spaces. Because otherwise you end up getting somebody else's building in my mind.
Yeah. Well, so I totally did it right, totally on purpose.
Totally started the project right. Started the project.
Started
So,
the project right.
yeah. And so then you got into historic buildings, right? And they are a whole love affair with it's abusive at times and then it's rewarding at times. And so, okay, so you bought the building, you're stepping into it, you're getting into it. And now I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So as you're stepping in and you're designing your space, you're putting together all the numbers and you stepped into a pretty complex construction project, like a historical renovation as one of your first major projects. And then, I do still think fix and flips, they're developers. So I'm glad you put that out there. How did you start to step into that? Like, how did you start to say, hey, I'm going to go for historic tax credits. I'm going to put this together.
I had a client friend who's a contractor.
Awesome.
So we talked about cold, dark boxes versus warm,
Shells, vanilla boxes.
white shells.
Yep.
Okay. So we talked about that. The idea originally was we were going to put the apartments together first, be able to rent those out, and then renovate the commercial space. Then somebody pointed out to me that you wouldn't want to live somewhere if the construction was going on all around you, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And then it all got so big, I said, stop. We got to stop. We got to figure out what we're doing, and we got to rebid this whole thing and do it all as a warm white box.
Warm,
Anyway, with
warm
heating and
shell.
air conditioning and drywall and trying to like make it not cold and dark.
Yes.
So that was contractor number one. Friend of mine did a great job. It just like I kept changing the scope and then I was like, okay, wait, we got to stop. So we
Yeah.
stopped. We looked at historic tax credits. So we started to understand the historic tax credit process and then bid the project out.
Yeah.
My advisor at the time had come from government background. And
Ooh.
so he was really looking at who is the cheapest, like who's the best quote.
Okay.
So we invited five contractors to walk the building with us and look at that. And we ended up with We thought we were going to get 3 quotes. We ended up with 2 quotes. One was the contractor I'd been working with who I knew and trusted, but didn't have a huge operation. And another one was one that came very highly recommended in the community, or highly thought of, multi-generational construction company.
Wow.
And we went with that one because they were less expensive. And it turns out that their MO is to underbid things.
Ooh.
And when you start asking around and understanding current interactions with them and current experience, it's very different than maybe a generation ago. And so I learned that the very hard way. So we had 1 or 2 people on the job for months and months and months. Like, we're moving stairways around, we were pulling out the old freight elevator, we were, doing some significant, we'd already done the roofs. And I decided enough was enough one day when there was like still one guy here, and they kept saying next week we'll have a full crew, 2 weeks from now we'll have a full crew, all that stuff. And so I decided enough was enough, but I didn't talk to my attorney before I decided that. And so I put into writing some things that my attorney would have advised me not to put in writing that way. And
Reach out GPT to come in. Shadow attorney those emails. My attorney's like, oh God, Katie, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay.
So that was contractor number 2. And then I got contractor number 3 that actually came out of the DC area and is really used to doing big projects, big universities, big projects. Of course, they come with a big
Overhead.
budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I finally got it done. 3 contractors in, I'll point out. And so it was completed. I think I decided that was a 4-year process in all, 3.5 or 4-year process in all.
Oh,
I
wow.
read something you said recently about, expect there to be burnout.
When did you hit burnout? Was it year 1, 2, 3?
It was like year 2.5, 2.5. You start having lawsuits and things like that because you fire someone wrong, and you hit burnout pretty quickly that way.
Yeah. It takes the
The
fun out of it. It takes the fun out.
It really
Like,
does.
I have to tell you to do your job and I'm paying you to do your job. Like,
Can't you just go away and like, I won't sue you for not doing your job and me paying you to do your job, but can you not sue me for the job you didn't do and
the
didn't
job
get
you
paid
didn't do.
for? It's really
Oh,
quite shocking.
that one
Um,
burns me, burns me. And then your attorney's like, okay, we'll pay this to get it. I'm like, oh, I want to make it go away. I want to like not pay them because they didn't do the work.
My no, but
Oh,
my attorney Katie said, well, if you'd told them this in the letter instead of that in the letter, you wouldn't have to pay them. But that
oh,
was
you
really
hand
stupid,
slap.
Liz. So now you have to pay them.
Oh, well, you learned, yeah, University of Hard Knocks, tuition accepted. Okay.
Very expensive university.
Oh
So
my
anyway,
God.
did the total renovation, all done. But in that, I'm at the very end of the
Yeah, because
at
when did we meet in that 4 year span?
so we met
That's a
in
deep breath you just took.
just about the time I was moving into my building. So sort of
Okay.
I was so done. It's the kind of thing, I don't know if this happened to you, but when I got married, people like it was like we'd been planning and everybody wants like decisions, and I had so much decision fatigue. People would be like on my wedding day, they're like, "Where do you want this table?" And I'm like, "I don't give a crap where that table goes. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care." It was the
Yeah.
same thing. Like, it was like, "What color do you want this wall?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I care." So it's major decision fatigue and burnout, which you
Oh,
pointed.
yeah.
So I'm at this event in February of 2024, and we're just about to move in. We have occupancy of the building,
What?
and which is awesome. We still have that claimed like front and center of our space. And I was at this conference, and I conference was good. Got done with the conference, ready to go to the airport, and having breakfast with a group of ladies around a table. And I don't even know how it came up. I must have said, "Yeah, I'm doing this." And this woman named Katie Kim sort of perks up and
I thought
goes,
you were talking about something else. I was like,
she goes, "Oh, have you talked about this, that, and this?" And I was like, "Well, it's probably too late, Katie, because I'm already in, and like it's all wrapped up, and I'm probably done. I wish I'd met you a little while ago." And and you're like, it was so interesting because you said, "No, look at this thing." And I don't know, do you want to talk about the details of that, or um
We can keep them a little hidden, and if somebody's interested, they can put them
I
in the
can reach
comments.
out to you.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
was it was a
yeah.
technical,
It's very technical.
very technical term and a technical thing that added. I did the numbers the other day. Do you have those in front of you? How much did I make off of that?
And I love when she just said that because I was going to say she's going to tell me not. I didn't save her. I made her. It was over $379,000.
$379,000 and change.
And she,
That, that breakfast literally puts in my pocket.
yeah.
It was amazing. And I was like, I don't know who this Katie Kim is, but I need to hang out with her more often. It's a very valuable breakfast. And then off I go to the airport. But I think actually you left for the airport first. I think
Yeah,
you
I had
got
to
up
leave.
and walked away, and my jaw's hanging open, and everybody's like, "What is wrong with you, Liz?" And I'm like, "She just made me a lot of money." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, I think she may have just made me more than $200,000. And they were like, no way, Liz. I'm like, no, really. And that, I think I had some fruit and maybe some yogurt and $279,000.
Remember, yeah, because Erica said, gave me a text like the next week, and she was like, we're singing your praise in our pod. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she was said that you had gone back and had done the math. And she goes, I just realized I was like too busy eating my food. Next time I'm going to pay attention to the conversation. But it was so good because, if, and having gone through those historical preservation projects, and we've done the tax credits so many different ways that like, and when you're having a good team that wants you to succeed and they want you to know the game and help, and like I said, that was one that like I didn't know about it until I did the deal. And so I feel like and it's something nobody tells you. Like nobody will tell you this. No matter how many courses you take, I will tell you if you take, we haven't done a historic tax credit course yet, so that's a whole thing. But
I think
but
they're also different.
huh?
They're also different.
Oh, well, yeah, like the bakery, we gave double the allocation to the investors. We didn't sell them because we just did the 10%, which was still in play at the time. On the next one in Cooperage, we sold them. We actually sold them to a prince on the East Coast. And then what's the other ones that we did? We passed them through the investors. One we sold state, one we got a campus. I didn't even know you could do a campus designation. And so that's what I love about when you talk about the contractors and bringing them to the site. I'm a big fan of bring your team in early. Tell them everything you want to do. Be very clear before you bring people like into that headspace, right? And then figure out what's on the table. And that's where, like, anytime in talking with the development with me, it's like, okay, give me the whiteboard, give me the top of the funnel. What are we working with? What are options? And then we start to like do the reps to narrow it down into that funnel. And then what comes out is that win-win-win project of the scope, the experience, the finances, everybody wins. And it really makes that holistic. And so when you said like, I probably did it wrong, I hired the designer, I'm like, no, you did it right. Like, get your vision in there first, figure out what your numbers have to be with the market, and then do the reps back and forth. All right, so let's step into the developer five, which we've covered a couple. We've covered the first deal. And what would be your lesson, I would say, that you came out of that deal with? Besides call Katie Kim first. I mean, like
That's kind of the lesson I learned is Katie Kim is very important in the world, in my world. Um,
love you,
I
girl.
think I think it really is understanding your team and understanding the plan. I think what
Yeah.
happened was I got this opportunity and I was like, this is too good an opportunity to pass up. And I don't want anyone to tell me not to do it, so I'm not going to ask anyone.
Oh, that's a good lesson. Like, and did you find that you rushed into it? Whereas otherwise, if you didn't want it as bad, like you may have taken the time, do the due diligence, it may have been structured differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
That's my biggest thing on like controlling the opportunity versus committing to it, right? Because there's so many times where I'm like, I want to develop that building so bad. Like, give me the keys of the kingdom. Like, let me go. That you step into it too fast. I love
Yep.
it. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, second one. What is a risk reward? What's one risk that you took that paid off or didn't?
I mean, I think this building paid off, right? I'm actually in it
Mhm.
right now. It's a risk that paid off. It just had a much longer time horizon than I was prepared for or understood.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that I was in a good time in the real estate market and that I had the cash flow that I had from other things because
Yeah.
my real estate business really floated the building for a lot longer than I expected it would.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's a lot of people that couldn't float for that long. So you're very blessed in that situation. That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The runway money is definitely something that I always tell people like just add a little bit more, like add another 10%. You never know.
I needed to add a lot more.
At 40% more. No. Okay. What's one of your non-negotiables when you are evaluating a deal now?
So what I've learned to do, and I mean, I think I learned to do this all the time. I continue to learn to do this, is to bring in the experts who know what they're talking about before I'm committed
Mm-hmm.
to whatever the thing is. The biggest mistakes I've made, and it's not just, in committing to this building, but in committing over time, the biggest mistakes I've made have been when I haven't wanted to welcome in other voices, not to squish my dreams, but to get the expert opinions and expert insights of things I'm not seeing. Like you, right? Having breakfast with you, I would not have known. I would never have known. I still might not know because you wouldn't go around telling me how much I'd lost. Um, but if I hadn't had you be willing to speak into my business that way, and if I hadn't been open enough to be willing to do that over breakfast with a perfect stranger whose name I frankly at the time did not know,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah,
I
I met
I wouldn't
you
know that.
that morning of the
Yes.
conference. Like, yeah. Like we
I thought
hadn't
your name was Julie, in fairness.
what?
I thought your name was Julie.
Probably Julie Crawford. I was hanging out with her. Oh no. That's awesome. I look like a Julie, right? I mean,
So anyway, I think that for me, the biggest mistakes I make in business are when I'm not willing to ask for help.
oh, that's such a good one. That's such a good one. Yeah. I'm thinking now of like all my post-traumatic stress, if you will, and those decision moments too, of like, they're experts in their field for a reason, like believe in their craft, and ask for help. And that goes back to, I'm always big about building my network before I need it and knowing those people that you can lean on, right? And say, hey, I just need you to help me with a little bit. And then if you step into it, reward them, right? Love that. So what's one tool or system or say process that you swear by now in your work, in your daily like evaluation or as you enter into a deal?
It's funny because I knew this question was coming because it's one of the developer fives, but I don't have a good answer for that yet. I
Okay.
feel like every deal is a little bit different.
Mhm.
And there are two things that are important to me is one, inviting people in who understand and I want to speak into that, whatever that is. The other thing is not being cowed or being diminished by the people who are diminishers.
Oh, yes. That is huge. And I know I shared with you one of the clients I've been working with recently, and she sent me a video of, and again, it's the architects. No. So, of a meeting, and he was asking her questions. And I was like, well, you gotta rephrase it a little different, dude. I'm sitting here like, I mean, I'm just like evaluating because I'm now a third party watching, a meeting that took place a long time ago. And my mama bear came out. I got pissed because I'm like, you are asking this woman who has built her business like way, I mean, amazing, just has gone through all the throes, everything, and you're acting like she doesn't know what she's doing and she doesn't know her craft, and that then just pisses me off. And those are the people that I'm like, you need to not be on the team, because if you can't come from contribution, if you can't get in line with like, not even in line, I should say that, if you can't get on board with like where we're going and the mission and how to like uplift that and support it and drive it, then to me, there's no place for you on a team we have. There's just not, because I'm looking at that, and that delayed her dream like 2, 3 years, because it was so scarring that it was just like, well, I didn't really want what he was giving me, but I didn't know how to communicate with him. And I'm like, because he wasn't listening. It wasn't you. It was he was not listening. And so just to tell her, like, I hear you and I see what you want and we're going to make it happen. Like that was, yeah, sorry, it was my soapbox there. I'm a little passionate about it, guys, if you can tell.
It happens over and over again. And I think it's so easy, and I'll just say, as a woman of a certain age, to have that interaction with a professional who should know better, like should know
Mhm.
how this thing should work. And that was
Yeah,
my experience with the contractors as well. I'm an expert at what I'm an expert at, and they better believe me at what I'm an expert at, right? But they're experts at construction. Like that one guy in there who's working for a year, like building a set of stairs crooked. He must know what he's doing. That's what he does. That's his job. That's like they're professionals at this. They must know what they're doing. And so you
yeah,
can almost talk yourself into this sort of subservient or smaller position,
yeah,
as somebody who's not that way, right? It's not like
yeah,
we play small. It's just that, well, I'm a professional. I expect them to know what to do. How much do I need to oversee that? And
yeah.
I think that's really was the biggest lesson I learned in this construction project was, oh, I need to oversee it a lot more than I thought I could ever need to oversee it because professionals don't always do what you expect them to do.
Yeah, we're not all created equal, right? And that's it. And you said it perfectly because like when you talk about projects, I think of another client that I'm working with right now, and she is like pushing the site work. I'm like, yes, now is when you push. Now is the cheapest time in your project. And it's the time where you can make up like a week at the beginning of the project made up makes a month on the back end. And so you do have to, I don't want to say babysit, but you have to push the project. And I remember when I was running the construction company, my uncle and my dad would talk about like the positions. You have the superintendent, you usually have like an assistant superintendent, and then they're like, and then the pusher. Like, we want this guy as our pusher. I'm like, what's the pusher, right? And they go, oh, they're the one that's like getting on everybody's ass. Like, okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm like, I want pushers on all my projects, right? Like everybody should be a pusher. But it was a strategic. Like they would look ahead and be like, okay, we're going to be, the notorious example I gave is we're going to be hanging doors in 3 weeks. Well, have the doors been ordered? Are they on site? Like this. And that pusher would be constantly looking at like not even a 3 week look ahead, but a 6 week look ahead and getting everybody on board. And I think that that position is so discounted in projects because if you don't know who's pushing the project, nobody is. Nobody is. So
That's
on that, all right, to bring it to the last one is what does legacy mean to you? And who do you think should have a seat at this table to hear your story?
It's interesting. I was sharing with you some things about my relationship with my nieces. Whew. And how important their leadership is in the world to
Yeah.
me, and to them, obviously. I think that I have a real soft spot for that 15 to 25-year-old woman,
Mhm.
young woman,
Mhm.
who is figuring out who she is in the world
Yes.
and what she can do and how powerful she is. And that's sort of where my heart is.
Oh, that gives me chills because when we were in those positions and those ages, we were trying to figure it out. We were trying to figure out who we are. And there are some instrumental women I know in my life that have helped me out. And I do always seek like who can I bring along with this project and how do I help those women sort them out? Because not everybody has, like you mentioned, you've had the blessing of great coaches and guidance and mentors, and not everybody has that. Not
Mhm.
everybody has that. And you tweaked on it. And I know we're running on some time here, but I would love to have you back and talk about your family farm if we can, because you tweaked at that. And I think it'd be really great to share how you guys have set up that legacy and how you manage it. So, and maybe bring your niece on. That would be kind
Ooh.
of fun. Maybe we do that. Would
Oh
you do
yeah,
it? I would
I
almost
could
do
do
it.
it. I could
Okay.
do it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Liz. So I could talk to you forever, you know that. Okay,
I
so
do.
how do people you're like, and I have. So how do people find out more about you and about your brokerage and anybody looking in it's West Virginia, right? Virginia and Maryland area,
That's
right?
correct. That's
Outside of
correct.
DC. If you
Yeah.
want the cool areas outside of DC, contact Liz. And where can people find you?
I'm all over the place. So if you actually Google Liz McDonald, you're going to come up with my cell phone number because that's how that works in the internet. But
Nice.
also, I'm on the socials, and you can just DM me directly, or dandridgerealtygroup.com.
Awesome. And I love if you do check out her socials, you will see that she has an amazing time with her crew. And Liz, I mean, I've never met a broker like Liz. She's covering open houses, or agents can go on vacation. They're in like some traffic cones doing bowling. I mean, like, I'm like, it's a party over there. Like, are we working? Like, cause I mean, but it's a work hard, play hard community. So I also would give
Absolutely.
a plug that if you are an agent that is looking for a rock star, well, we call it OP and Keller, but a rock star broker. And if you're an agent looking for a rock star broker, looking for a great community, and looking for agents that you can really level up your game, then you need to check out Liz and her brokerage at Dandridge Realty, because it's amazing culture. I'm so excited. I can't wait to come visit the office personally.
Yeah, come do it.
Awesome. All right. So we're gonna do the family farm. We're gonna get the Nissan. We'll see if she's interested and we'll go that. But thank you so much, Liz. It was a pleasure as always. And I love you dearly. So thank you very much for sharing your story.
Likewise, Katie. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And that, my friends, is what legacy in real time looks like. Today, you heard from a woman who didn't just step into real estate. She built an entire ecosystem. Liz McDonald started in property management, sold the business, launched her own independent brokerage, and kept going. A responsible buyer program, a title company, real estate development. She's building pillars, not just projects. But what hits the deepest, she's doing it with her family, her niece, her nephews, the family farm. We touched on it a little bit today, but we're bringing them both back in a future episode to show you how legacy isn't just inherited, it's engineered. And look, we can't close the episode with Liz without mentioning that breakfast story, how in 15 minutes I made Liz $379,000 made, not saved. But the truth is, Liz makes moves. All I did was give a match. She brought the kindling, the courage, and the commitment to burn through that project. So if today lit a fire under you, good. That's the point, because this podcast isn't just about strategy. It's about women like Liz building empires while making breakfast and passing blueprints to that next generation. Liz McDonald, thank you so much for being my guest today. You didn't just bring the spice, you brought the substance, and I can't wait to do it again. So until next time, keep it bold, keep it legacy minded, and as always, let's go. Hey friend, before you go, I want to say this. If real estate development has been on your heart or on your mind, we've built lanes to help you walk it out wherever you're starting from. Just exploring? Start out with our free live masterclass. Ready to do the reps and build the strategy? Join the Developer 101 Bootcamp. Already active and need to level up? Step into the Real Estate Development Academy. You don't have to figure this out alone. We can teach you, we guide you, and we walk with you. So head over to katiekim.com and book a call with our team today, and let's figure out the best first or next step for you. You're not behind, you're not too late, and you're definitely not too early. You're right on time. Let's go. The information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. It's not financial advice. It's not investment advice. Real estate development, like any investment, carries risk. Before you make decisions, you should always consult a licensed professional, your attorney, your CPA, or your financial advisor, to name a few, to make sure you're making the right choice for your situation. I'm here to share insights and strategy, but you're responsible for your own decisions, and each situation is unique. So make sure you contact your professional team to give you your specific guidance for your specific case, as each real estate development's different and unique and has its own challenges and opportunities.